Welcome back to Trailer Park Tales, where we share the scariest stories from across the internet. Today we are starting off with a demonic story from Billy Bob Dixon.
Alright, so let me tell you what happened last Tuesday, 'cause I know y'all heard some version of it already, and Randy's been running his trap down at the bait shop, and he don't got half the details right. So it's a Tuesday night, hot as the devil's armpit outside. I'm in my recliner. I got the TV going. I'm on maybe my 6th or 7th beer, don't matter. And I crack the window 'cause I'm having a smoking. Courtney used to get on me about smoking inside, but Courtney don't live here no more, so I'm just sitting there real peaceful like, minding my own business, when something knocks on my window. Now I want to be clear about this knock. This weren't no normal knock. This was 3 real slow, heavy thumps, like somebody was using a fist the size of a canned ham. And when it happened, the whole wall shook, and I thought I was finally having my heart failure, and every light in the trailer went dim. And it got real cold, real sudden cold, like somebody opened a meat locker right next to my face. My first thought was, darn diggity doodle head, the IRS finally got me. I don't know why they'd come at night. I don't know why they'd knock on my window. I've been running a cash-only moonshine operation out of a Walmart parking lot for 14 months in secret. So I look over at the window real slow, and there's a face pressed up against the glass. And I mean pressed, like its nose was flat against it like a pig. Made me want some bacon jelly beans. And it weren't no regular face. It was red, not sunburned, not embarrassed. I mean red like my hemorrhoids. Big old black eyes, no white in them at all. Just solid black. And it's looking right at me. It's got horns curving back off its forehead. And there's smoke coming off it. Actual smoke. My window frames start blistering. I took a long drag of my Marlboro. I said, knew y'all would find me eventually. 'Cause what else you gonna say? Gotta play cool? There's something my daddy taught me. When the government comes to collect, you never let 'em see you sweat first. You act like you've been expecting them. Takes all the power out of it. Alpha dominance. The thing starts talking, and Lord, its voice sounded like a juicy burp. It goes, I'm above something. I couldn't catch all of it. Some long name I ain't got the attention span for. I said, I ain't care what your name is, son, and I muted the TV 'cause I'm polite. I want you to know that there ain't no tax evasion going on here. And that's when things got real weird, 'cause the glass cracked right down the middle like a butt cheek and split on its own. Didn't even touch it. And there was this moaning sound coming up from under the floor like someone was constipated under my trailer. The wallpaper started peeling off the walls in big strips. My beer cans fell off the end table. I heard the mirror in the bathroom crack. The air tasted like hot dog water and chocolate starfishes. And this thing, this demon or whatever the hell, it pressed harder on the window and goes, I'm the devourer of blah blah blah. And I go, now hold on, I ain't got receipts. And it stopped. I got most of the receipts, I said. Some of them got wet. That weren't my fault, though, and Randy can vouch for me on the moonshining. I went and paid all the taxes in the Big Creek. I went and paid all the taxes in a big check to the government. I figured if I was going down, I was going down swinging. I started walking to the kitchen to get another beer, partly 'cause I needed one, and partly 'cause it's harder to intimidate a man who's walking away from you. The lights cut out completely then, full dark, and its eyes, I could still see 'em through the window, glowing like two cigarette cherries the size of headlights, just floating there in the black. The whole trailer had gone dead quiet except for that low groaning from underneath getting loud. Or maybe that was my heart failure. It said real slow, "I ain't from the IRS." And something about the way it said it, I believed it. I stopped walking. I turned around. I said, "You sure?" It goes, and I could tell it was getting a little angry. It goes, "I'm a creature of eternal damnation. I've walked the burning corridors of the abyss for 11,000 years. I've consumed the souls of kings and generals, and I consumed the blood of fetuses." I stood there a second, thought about it. "Darn tootin'," I said. "Well, shoot, that's a relief." And I went and got my beer. I hollered back, "You want one? I got Coors." Now here's the part Randy keeps getting wrong. He says I wasn't scared. That ain't true. I was quivering in my boots. My hands were shaking when I opened that cooler. My head just said, "Offer a beer, deny everything, don't sign nothing." So it comes back around trying again. "I've come for your soul." I say, "Yeah, you and Courtney both. You got a business card?" I don't do nothing without my lawyer present, and he don't answer me anymore 'cause I'm declared bankrupt. It tried to come through the door. The horns wouldn't fit. I can barely fit my own gullet through there. I watched it try twice. Felt a little bad about that, actually. I ended up passing it a beer through the cracked window. We sat there for a while, me and my recliner, it outside in the dark glowing. Didn't talk much. Watched the game. I smoked 2 more cigarettes. Around midnight it left. Said something in a language that made my nose bleed a little. I took that as a goodbye. I went to bed, slept real good.
And now a story from me, Jessica. Did my mom encounter a ghost or a demon? Sounds so spooky. As I have some paranormal experiences myself, I would like to share the one that happened to my mom, because every time I hear it, it still scares me. This happened on Christmas Eve in the early 90s. Oh my god, her mom is old. My mom was still a teenager. She shared a room and bed with her younger sister, who was 14 at the time. And the room itself was always dark, except for the old alarm clock in the corner with the blue numbers, which would give off a slight glow. Anyways, she woke up because she heard some type of animal gagging, and at first she thought it was the dog, but then she remembered that the dog was not in their room that night. So she's listening to whatever this thing is gagging, and it was very loud. And she tilted her head up, and when her eyes started to adjust to the dim light of the alarm clock, she saw a black mass at the foot of her bed. It was very tall because it touched the ceiling, and it started to move. And when it moved, it sounded like there was a metal rake that was being dragged across the carpet in the room. While it was moving, my mom said there was a sound coming from the mass. It was something like she had never heard before. The best way she could explain it is a record with multiple male and female voices being played backwards, coming from this mass. My mom at this point was petrified, and this thing was getting close to her foot, which was sticking out at the end of the bed as she was trying to put her foot back in without whatever this thing is noticing that she was awake. She was able to pull her foot back in right before it passed it. But even as it was approaching, she said this mass felt ice cold. The mass moved across the room and into the wall. After that, the voices and clawing on the carpet stopped. At this point, my mom didn't know if she was the only one to see this. And then her younger sister called out, "Are you awake?" My mom replied, "Yes," and her sister quietly said, "What the fuck was that?" Immediately, they both wanted the light switched on in the bedroom. However, the light was close to the door, which they would have to get out of bed to walk across to turn on the light, and she said it took them a minute. They were both terrified to even put their feet on the ground from what they saw. Finally, my mom got the courage to quickly jump out of bed, turn on the light, and jump back in. And she said the rest of the night they sat there with the lights on. They didn't sleep, they didn't talk until the morning when everybody woke up to open presents. To this day, my mom doesn't know what that thing was, why it was in her room that night, but she said then she won't sleep in the dark. I know she said after this encounter, the house became very active, from things disappearing to the television turning on blast full static, to the point where her dad said he felt two hands grip his shoulders while he was driving to work, almost causing him to have an accident. No one else was in the car but him. She said eventually her family moved to a new house, but whatever this was followed them and continued to haunt her family for the past 30 years. I wonder if anyone has experienced something similar. I don't know what this could have been, but I'm leaning towards it being demonic.
I'm Lil Petey, and I'm here to share with you a skeptical story called Scariest Experience of My Life. Hello, this is my first time posting a paranormal experience, so bear with me. So, me and my 4 friends and boyfriend planned to go camping. 5 days before we were supposed to camp, I was at a convenience store parking lot when a lady approached me. This lady wasn't exactly weird or creepy, but she did seem like she did look nervous, I think. Because she wouldn't meet my gaze, she pressed a red string bracelet into my palm, then dipped. The talisman was warm, but not warm from the lady's hand. Like, warm because it is its own heat. Of course, I found it weird, but not much weird stuff happens to me, so I didn't mind. I'm a messy person, so I dropped it into my purse. I'm a messy person, so I just dropped it into my purse that I carry everywhere. So when we got to the campsite, it was like 4 p.m. and we were not alone. There was a couple there, but we set up camp a bit far from them. Before sunset, we set up camp and took pictures. But after sunset was when everything happened. 7 p.m. We had just had dinner that we packed around the campfire. Earlier, Mia, one of my friends, told us she was almost uneasy in a specific part of the woods. I remember checking my purse at one point and felt the talisman a bit warmer. After dinner, it suddenly went silent. I love listening to the Appalachian Mountain stories, and I know well that when the forest goes quiet, that probably meant we're not alone. Me and my boyfriend sat together, Carlos and Charm to our left, Ryder and Mia right in front of us. The campfire was in the middle, of course. Mia was more sensitive to paranormal stuff compared to everyone else, so she was the first one to notice. She suddenly froze and then told me not to turn around. She said she saw something or someone smiling behind me and my boyfriend, and I think that's what caused my boyfriend to begin to turn around nervously repeatedly. I began to freak out when Mia began to shake at my boyfriend, and I began to freak out when Mia began to shake and my boyfriend began to be paranoid. Because who wouldn't? Looking back, I think she saw the thing in its full form. Then it started to affect everyone else. Ryder said he heard footsteps circling us. Charm broke down after telling us something was sitting in her tent. Then almost immediately after, Carlos said something was dragging across his arm. Then when he pulled up his sleeve, scratches were on his arm. My boyfriend turned to me and asked if it was talking to me too, so I kind of just stared at him, dumbfounded. The two girls with us were both crying hysterically, while Ryder was pacing around, occasionally yelling to make it stop, and Carlos seemed to be hyperventilating. At this point, I was clutching my purse, 'cause it was the closest thing to me. It looked like me and my boyfriend were the only ones who could drive, so that we didn't bother to even pack up. We dragged all of our friends to the car and drove to our town, an hour away from the campsite, and we planned to retrieve the rest of our stuff in the morning. The drive was tense. The girls and Ryder rode with me, so imagine being scared added to the fact that your friends are hysterically crying. In the morning, I poured out all the contents of my purse and discovered that the talisman looked like it was burnt. Long story short, it left us with an unexplainable experience.
Thank you guys for listening to our scary stories. Come back next week for another one.